All right, here we go. Let's kick this one off. I've been told that this game was an absolute slobber knocker, I think is the correct term. We've got Faye versus Tips on Golden Pit. It is going to be a showdown between Tips on Jeanne D'Arc and Faye on Order of the Dragon. You already know it's going to be fun. Because for anyone who's tuned into any of my casts where we've cast Faye playing Order of the Dented, it's a good time. Yeah. Usually it involves racks, usually it involves some form of aggression. In Faye's own words, her games always involve Pepega. And I've told her time and time again, I don't mind that, as long as it's entertaining. And she delivers quite a lot. So, ranking-wise, these two are pretty high-ranked on the ladders right now. In fact, if I check on the leaderboards at the time of recording, Faye, what are we looking at? So, she's got 1,708 elo. Tips is at 1,699 elo. They're both in the top 200 on the leaderboard right now, and both of them have soared as high as the top 100. So it should be a pretty fun game. Also, I don't feel like I've seen much of Jeanne D'Arc on Golden Pit either. Right? Like, I don't know why I haven't seen much. I guess it's because you get very safe spawnings on the gold quite often, right? Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Golden Pit is a little bit inconsistent on how it spawns gold. Sometimes it's actually in range of the TC to be fully protected. Sometimes it's a little bit further out. But also, the other thing that I felt was going to make Jeanne a more viable pick here is because of the nearby boar and deer. It's very easy to go for a second TC play instead of all-in aggression. Maybe one of the worries for Jeanne pickers is the lack of, like, safe white gold, right? You have to play condensed to the center, but even that, I'd challenge and say the Guildhall build just looks even better here, right? You just rush towards Imperial, you get a red palace drop in the center. All of a sudden, you've got a GG, especially against gold-heavy civs like Order of the Dragon. And by the way, if you want to see what I was talking about close-by resources, can we... What? I'm sorry, are you playing Mongols right now? I mean, actually, imagine if she was playing Mongols here. You just drop the TC here, and you basically, with the Gur, have perfect drop-off condensed all next to your TC. That's kind of bonkers. Interesting opening, by the way. I noticed that Faye went with one farm to begin with. That was meant to be so she could do a wider arc with her scout, which she's now committing to. Unfortunately, it looks like Tips has scouted that entire area already, so no extra sheep there. Final haul is going to be 8 for her. Meanwhile, Tips still gathering. Up to 9, and he has still got that corner to check, which Faye neglected to go towards. 4 more sheep for Jeanne, which means double the sheep count almost in favor of Tips. Arkin on the way, though. Wait, what? I mean... So here's the thing. They buffed the gathering rate on the villages, right? It's now 28% from 25. But they didn't do anything for Arkin. In theory, it's increased your rate a little bit more because the base rate has been increased on Dragon Villages. But I still don't know if this is worth giving up mine work. The cheaper techs are pretty phenomenal. The reason why I think Faye has chosen to do this instead of going for your standard mine work play, like many players do, is that you'd be doing mine work, which encourages you to come out on the map with things like the Gilded Men-at-Arms. But you'd be doing that against Jeanne D'Arc. And that means you could be feeding over a lot of XP, right? Each of your units costs double what it does for another civ. So it's a very risky play. I imagine Faye's probably just going to go for kind of a fast castle build here. Play it safe. Don't expose yourself to those fights in the mid where Jeanne just reaps the reward of XP. In fact, I'm kind of curious how this matchup works. So after the January patch, highest level of play, Order of the Dented, here's an interesting detail for you folks. They're actually the top civ at Conk Plus. They have a 58% win rate with 111 games, which I believe is like the most, the 7th most played civ or 8th most played civ. Up against this civ in particular, up against Jeanne D'Arc, they're at a 50-50 split. If we go to the patch before, which has a lot more data in it, Jeanne D'Arc versus Order of the Dragon is actually a 60% win rate for Jeanne. So pre-nerf, she was actually quite favored in this matchup. Since then, it's been a 50-50 split down the line. Something to be conscious of there is actually more players have been playing Order of the Dented on the new patch as well, so it could be kind of skewed in that regard. But it means we should have a pretty tight and interesting game here. And that's true. The recent win rates is 100% just all cracked in his Men-at-Arms rushes. I feel like we shouldn't even talk about those cursed things. Jeanne moving out on the ball. Have we got some stone gathering going on? No, it's just going to be a play onto the boar itself. I like this. It's good, right? Like, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. The boar's so close by. The deer as well. Love the drag across by Tips, optimizing the area. I don't like the fact it's not multi-TC. I know he's worried about the fast castle build, but I think like 2TC makes a lot of sense with the Jeanne faction here, with this type of positioning. And then that also allows you to afford villagers to walk out and wall these off. Instead, though, I assume he's just going to go for an all-in type play. Tips, adding in the knights now. Faye clearly going for that castle age rush here. He's going to set up an outpost in the back. Interesting position as well. Could have set it up a little bit more aggressively. I guess the logic here is by having it retracted on the gold, if a knight charges in on the right side, it gives you time to get to the outpost from the mining camp Archon location. Whereas if you put it on the forward, you're running towards knights and they could body block you. Look at this timing though. 6 minutes in, not far off already. So it looks like by what, like 6.5 minutes, maybe, Faye could be ready to tech. She overgathered on the gold a little bit, but that's something that's very hard to calibrate with if you're not doing too many Archons at the moment. Like you can see, she's actually going to have a lot of surplus gold to work with. But with the food gathering rate as it is, 12 people on there, more farms to come as well. This is a pretty good timing. Tips, meanwhile, now with 2 knights, but the problem is with that outpost there, with the tight spawn of resources that you often get on Golden Pit, this is why I want him to go for a TC play. I think this attempt to scale knights and go into the base just doesn't work, right? This is a Civ that is playing on one of the most campy and defendable starting maps, usually at least, that you can get. And this is also a detail that Tips knew, right? He scouted this area early, if I'm not mistaken. If he didn't, that feels like kind of a blunder, right? Like, that would have given you the information to know whether you should go 2 TC or go mass knights. Tech up on the way. This is another interesting thing with OOTD, right? The tech timing is going to be better than HRE, not just because of the gathering rate, but also because of the speed with which they build. Each villager, 20% more efficient than their brother Civ HRE. And that means we are looking at, what, like a 7-minute, 40 seconds tech timing for Castle Age? Pretty damn good there. Especially considering we've had outposts added in, we've had walls added in. We've had reasons to kind of delay that timing. Knights now just trying to dent the base a bit, but not willing to dive. And I feel like you kind of have to here. This is an interesting idea, actually, against Order of the Dragon. Because they have less villagers, forcing them to full garrison a TC kind of hurts their eco more. Yes, you can't find kills, but if you keep wiggling in with, say, Jeanne, right, and poking and prodding and forcing that idle time, not only does it delay this tech advantage, but also it's essentially idling out a bigger bulk chunk of the OOTD eco to defend, right? Like, we always think of it this way at the moment where, okay, I have less villagers, which means I can safely garrison all of them. That is true. But on the flip side, you have less efficiency in terms of villager per attack damage, right? Because you're giving up more eco to add in the same number of archer fire damage that other civs would as well. Tips, meanwhile, now this tech up. What's your play? I mean, you're not going for a second TC. I guess it's just going to try to scale army. This is one of those situations, actually, where it's quite funny. It kind of benefits you not having faster prelate access because you would have ran them out into death. Now just having to wait for them, although it's a little bit annoying, it means you aren't really hurting this matchup. Some matchups, there is a missed opportunity to grab 2 relics and pull home. But against a cav-based Civ, it's actually kind of a good thing that you can't go this prelates early, right? Because they would have just been running out into no man's land, blind and dead. Pepperin coming in. Villagers will have to move off the wood line slightly here, but I mean, this is just not enough damage to keep you at bay, right? You have to remember that Textiles is in. Faye actually went for it very early on. Pretty smart read there, actually. I think that's why Tips didn't dive to TC. If this was standard, no Textiles Gilded Villagers, these knights could have done some serious damage, especially with Jeanne nearby. But because of that extra health, it's infuriatingly hard to dive and get any kills here. Good Knight also now coming out. Yeah, really orderly approach to the start of this game from Faye, right? Just going after the reinforcements, not looking for the main cluster fight, staying away from Jeanne as well. Scout should have been going down there. I do not know how the hell Faye got away with that. But funnily enough, this is kind of cool. If you have 1 Gilded Knight, drawing the attention of at least 2 knights, it's an even exchange, right? But right now, you have 1 Gilded Knight drawing the attention of 4. Make that 6 knights. And she's still rather finding kills on archers. Pretty cool. Faye also now setting up the Spring. Second Knight's going to come out. And guess who left the archers unguarded? Great read by Faye. Archer count being kept low here. It's also really nice because you have that 1-2 tap with Gilded Knights. The lance hit is just so strong. Also, Jeanne needs to be careful. I love the fact there's a prelate out here just being ignored. Charge is going to come in, so Gilded Knight will have to peel away. Dude, it's crazy how much damage you can get away with taking with these units, right? Meanwhile, prelates have snuck out. So it looks like it was a yoink in the center. Well played by Faye to get 2 on the way home like this. Dude, that's a sick one too. Warlord's going to come out very early here. Tips, no way he gets baited into that. So at least be able to deny this one, but unfortunately for him, that means the others should be making its way in. Gilded Knight count is also going up further. Another one being added in soon. That one on the flank. I mean, this just doesn't feel great, man. You know that situation where there's one French Knight in your base and you chase it with 10 spears, but you never catch it? It's the same thing here. Now, the negative for these Gilded Knights is it takes a very long time to heal them. And also, if they walk into a corner like this, it's death. But the upside is you should be scaling prelates, right? Once you have at least 2 relics in, you should have surplus gold compared to any other resource. Follow. Nice pushback there by Faye. Also has the Springwood emplacement in there. Relic's about to be dropped inside, so this is going to be a problematic area for Tips to try and dive. And you can already see the heal factor coming through to save the day. Final Knight on his way home. We're now going to be going up to 5 of these Gilded Knights. There's so far 14, soon to be 15 for Tips. So he still has the military lead, especially if he gets the charge off. But it's never an even fight, right? Like, it's very difficult to kind of stack up now, especially these Springwood emplacements hitting for a lofty 54 damage. That means it takes only 4 shots to down these Knights. Gilded Knights are peeling and going. I love the fact that Faye's just not looking for a main fight. Like, I've seen players just try to stack Gilded Knights for a clash, and it's really reminiscent of when people try to go, say, mass Camel Lancers to their front line. It just doesn't work long term. This is a much better approach. It looks like the timing could be beautiful here. Are you kidding me? Yo, are you Spider-Woman? I mean, she might be here for the Relic, but she's going to find a lot more. Knight is going to be taken down. Now, if she turns over towards this food, it looks like Tips is going to back away. So that Knight does save some lives there. Tips, slow on the going, though. Waiting for those Rams first. I mean, I don't like how long this is taking. The longer this takes, the worse it kind of gets, right? For a start, your gathering just can't really compare now that the board's exhausted. On top of that, your opponent has got these Spoon emplacements coming in multiple towers, some of them having relics. And sure, it's only 1 relic so far, but are you kidding? Okay, so now it's further away from your base. Well done. If that had worked. Good lord. Now, the good news for Tips is he's at least getting close to cast stage behind this, but these Rams, to me, just... It's against HRE. You force E-repairs, sure, but that's kind of all you do. And the problem is he's not going through the center where the Regnants is, right? Where it's less defended. He's going to where the outposts are at. Spearmen are also being prepped. Rams. If the Knights get a charge off here, basically half your health is instantly gone. Like that. That's exactly what I was looking for, Faye. She has E-repairs to work with. Clash comes back towards the double tower. Jeanne trying to dive in, but instantly sniped away. Now, with no XP farm, and this starts to feel bad. Faye is fortified. E-repairs comes in. Ram not going to be able to get through this quick enough, and the costs are going to stock up here. I mean, the losses are going to mount, right? Like, this is problematic. Spears just holding up against those Knights. Tips, he's getting close to the cast stage behind this, but he just can't get XP because of the oppression of those Springwood emplacements. And these Knights, just absolute beefcakes so far in this engagement. Tips diving deeper, but I mean, this is starting to cost him dearly, right? The destroyed value is not looking pretty. Rams have almost dealt with this tower. In fact, he's waiting for the pull-out of repair crew, but looks like instead, Faye is just going to vacate the area. 1 tower is down, but 1 still remains, and this one is much tougher. Body blocks are good from Faye. Another garrison comes in. 1 villager is going to be sacrificed, so 2 going down in total so far in this game. Tips, like a dog with a bone right now, but just look at those health bars getting lower and lower. Jeanne kept so far away, right? No Divine Restoration for still another, I think, 30 seconds left until it comes off cooldown. Sorry, 60. That's getting surrounded. Wallow's going to come out. That buys time for the repair. That's a sick idea by Faye, actually. Unfortunately, the Rams still haven't been answered here. Lancer Charge should help. So Knights get rid of one. Number one goes down, though. Tips. His numbers are getting small here. Irapez comes in. Faye buys just enough time to get the clutch repair. And now Tips looking exhausted, down to just 10 Knights remaining. Divine Restoration still on cooldown for 30 seconds. That means he could lose another 4 Knights before it's available. I think you back off, man. Like, it was a good attempt. You've done some damage. It feels frustrating to have to walk away with anything less than a dub from this clash, but it feels too late. I think what hurts him more is the fact that all of his attention has been drawn here, and while it was in this area, look at what Faye was doing. That's the 3rd Relic home now. She has everything she needs. Tips, he got sucked in. He got baited into this focus fight and just learned the hard way. You cannot do that with relics still spread across the map. Faye was able to sneak relics both off the flanks as well as, I think, to the north side was the other one. And now, with 6 relic effective incoming gold, there's no way Tips keeps up with this. He needs to go Castle H. Yeah, that was ugly, man. I think... What? I mean, you have level 3, but that doesn't mean you go again. This is unbelievable. I mean, Tips, the way you can recover your game now is you go Castle Age. You've kind of had a hard time. You've been beaten in a bit. You just kind of have to accept this for what it is. This double down feels like it could cost him the game. I mean, Faye has the defense at this time, right? Like, she's got spears added in, more Gilded Knights coming. She did lose a lot, sure, but now with 3 relics behind this, enough stone to drop more outposts. I mean, she's in a very confident position. In fact, she's even trying to look for that relic again. How does this work now? I mean, you can Clowncast strat it, but still, it's 4 Knights, it's 6 spears, and those are vet spears. They hit for 14 damage each by default. Warlord comes out. Faye baits him in. Tips, what? He gets out of range just in time there. Formation shuffle barely saving him. I think he lost an archer or 2, but most of it got out of range. Divine Restoration is going to come out. The prelates keep healing, though, and it looks like Faye is going to make it a 4-relic game. Are you kidding me right now? Knight still trading reasonably well as well. Cleaves come through, but, I mean, they're just such chunky boys here. Looks like they're trying to break out. Nice attempt to ram body block here, but Tips unable to lock them in. 3 Knights will make it home. A 4th relic alongside them. By Knights Templar standard, this is the type of holy war that's considered successful. We got what we wanted. Our shiny trinkets. Good lord. Back to the ram building, says Tips. Now, if the relic was left, this would have been a good fight for Tips. But considering this is now 4 relic regnants, which means it's actually 8 relics, that's a lot of cheddar. It might be a bit too much for Tips to munch down on. Aye, aye. Tips now going in off the outpost that's been rebuilt. Difficult though. Does find a villager kill. Should be costing him a knight in return though. Sprint replacement is coming in soon as well. The trip ram moving in. The E-repairs could save you depending on the timing of this, but it's going to be tight. Villager. Oh no, he repaired instead. Outpost is actually just going to be given over, so no attempt to keep it up. Just relies on the strong point defense here. The one that has the relic inside it. Knights peel back further. No inspired warrior tech yet, which surprises me considering the amount of gold that Faye has to work with here. Clash of the choke point is good. Not many knights either. Tips, he leaves the spears behind. Big mistake there. E-repairs does come out. Leaf through from Jeanne. Tips refuses to let go. Spearmen coming out of their axes. Jeanne almost goes down there. Gilded Knights do get baited in towards the spears now. But with the Gilded Crossbowmen behind this, the Prelate heal as well. Tips needs to find a way of sticking here permanently. Gilded Knights are going to fall. E-repairs has already been used. No villagers nearby. This is it. This is the moment. Faye rushes with the villagers. Oh no. Cleaves are there though. Even with textiles, even with the fact that dragon villages are still going to start dying. Faye, in desperation, tries to hold on to the one defense to keep her in this game. But the Rams will shut it down. Another flood through tip, still with 32 military. Only 8 in the field for Faye. This has to be the end of the game, surely. 38 eco to 63. Relics can do some miraculous things, but these two have their limit. Faye, she says no. She refused to give in. What is the recovery mechanism here? She's running out of wood on the left side. She hasn't got that many farms. Farms have all been shut down. She's got less relics to work with now. No access to gold. Jeanne barely gets away. Are you kidding me? But Faye says no. She refuses to wave the white flag. Tips might force it with this, though. Guildhall now on the way. Rams have at least been delayed from dealing with the Raxes. But with only 1 spearman and 2 men-at-arms, I am struggling to see the way. And you know what's crazy here, folks? Imagine that fight with Inspired Warrior Tech, which was feasible, by the way. She had the food and gold. Imagine buffing those Gilded Knights, buffing those spearmen. 14 damage, an extra 15% doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually adds up to quite a bit. The Knights being up at 30 plus damage, basically getting a plus 5 damage. Could have been the difference making a breakthrough to hit those Rams, and if you just got rid of one of those Rams successfully, that outpost never goes down. But instead, Tips finds the way to not just get the kill, but age up behind it. Ram now being pulled back temporarily. Archer range should be going down, but it looks like the Relic has at least been recovered, so Faye will pull that one home. Villagers, where is Tips going here? He's going for the boar. So this is why Tips is able to do this, by the way. Big tip when you're playing Jeanne D'Arc or French. If you're all-inning, you should not be building farms. Tips understands that. Not a single farm in sight. If he has to farm, he's already losing the game from this position. Look how close this was, even with him sticking everything behind the fight. If he'd gone for 5 or 10 farms, rather, he wouldn't have had these Rams, he wouldn't have had that many Knights. So great read by Tips to keep the aggro going. Tips. He slowed down. You know, it's kind of reminiscent of that feeling where you feel the game is over, so you feel like you can take your time, but I think that might be a mistake here. Think about this logically. Faye's eco, you have to add almost 30% to the number here, right? So she has like 52. Admittedly, some of them are now going down as the Knight does ride in. So it's getting a little bit better for Tips, but I feel like these raids should have been happening a bit earlier. Right? After you're done with the right side of the base, just wrap with the Knights here. Because this is the thing that is actually going to keep Faye alive. Villagers seek shelter here. Spearman, Gilded Crossbowman from the high ground. And wrong targets there. Tips takes a terrible trade. Great read there, Faye. She tried to get into the Gilded Crossbowman before and it failed. But this is really the GG win condition for her, right? The range on these up at 6 tower range. The fact they do 35 damage is difficult for Tips to contest with. Well, he doesn't really have anything that reaches for free, right? Archers have less range. Sure, you can move a bit quicker, but by the time you gap close, you're dead. Even the Arbitrary are going to suffer. When they go up to 6 tower range, they get that extra armor, but a one-on-one trade is just terrible for them. And I don't really think that Tips can afford more than a one-on-one count of Arbitrary versus Crossbowman right now. He just doesn't have the mass food to allow for that while he's still pumping Knights. Go to Crossbowman. I love this, man. I've seen this before. This is actually... We talked about this. I think it was Dumu versus Numidan. Dumu was the first person to show it. Gilded Crossbowmen are actually a perfect counter to Jeanne D'Arc. I think it's actually the strongest tool in the Order of Dragon arsenal. Not spears, Gilded Crossbowmen. Even more so because that game we talked about just there between Numidan and Dumu was before the nerfs. You can check that one on my YouTube channel. Now, remember, she has less damage reduction at level 3. So these are even better. And you see exactly why. Gilded Crossbowman shut it down. Jeanne removed from the field. And wow, he immediately brought it back. 500 gold down the drain like that, and it didn't cost Faye anything. Instead, she shuts down the extension on the ball, keeps 1,900 food here for herself. Tips. It's kind of awkward now, right? Like, this is one of the tough things when you see Gilded Crossbowman. It's why I actually think like ranged units are the strength of Order of the Dragon in general. Countering with mangoes is difficult. You need additional mangoes over what you'd normally need, right? Because of the extra health you're looking at here, right? Look at the comparison. We've got 140 health on the Gilded Crossbowman, Arbitrator 80. So you essentially need 4 mangoes to feel good about taking these fights. Upside for Tips, he's playing the right civ for that. If he consecrates the workshops, it's much cheaper with Ordnance Company. If he doesn't get into the mangoes, though, he doesn't really have an answer to this crossbow mass. I mean, right now, he's just being played like a fiddle, right? Moves in range for the archers temporarily. Looks like a knight has found its way into the enemy base. Looking for that eco now. And funnily enough, Faye with the A-click has made a mistake there. Clash comes in on her own defenses, though. Brace in just in time. Peel back to the choke. Villagers are not working right now for Faye, though. Tips keeps on chasing. Gilded Crossbowman, they need to deal with Jeanne. Divine Restoration is available, though. Instead, they're just going to snipe down these knights one by one. And behind this, the outpost, I don't think it's in E-repair range. No, it's not connected here. So that Springle defense will be going down. Faye does stay alive, but Tips starting to take away some food. I'm going to say that. He actually needs to finish this outpost off. Villagers could still come back to repair it. Instead, they just look to the Rams with the army. Faye. What? I don't understand Tips' choice here. He leaves the archers behind and loses practically all of them here. Wow. This is getting messy. Tips. Not the most ideal way of taking a fight here. You know, the only upside is that he didn't lose Jeanne, but for good reason, right? Faye was waiting for that Divine Restoration. The reason why Tips backed up seemingly prematurely there is because the moment Divine Restoration is on cooldown, these crossbows will target you. And they will kill you very quickly, right? With 10 hitting for 35 each, that means each flurry of attacks is going to do 175 damage. 175 damage, and you only have 450 health. How's the guild hall looking? We are getting to a point where Imperial Age is feasible here. I think Tips' goal is to idle delay and then go for a red pass drop in the center. The issue in this game is that Faye doesn't really need the gold as much as Tips does, right? She's got 4 relics, which means she's at 8 relics. That's enough gold for a type of comp to keep working, right? Because the goal here is to get mass crossbowmen and then switch over into spears. Even men-at-arms don't cost that much gold, only 40 apiece. Farms are now being set up, so Tips trying to get through that awkward phase of the game. I believe Faye actually offset this for a lot longer, right? She had about half these farms very early on. That's a smart read. If she rushed up to 30 farms in her own base, this game would already be over. Those extra farms, although they pay back quicker with HRE and Order of the Dragon than other civs, at 75 would cost each, the difference is in the army you'd have today, right? She would have had probably 4 less crossbows, a few less men-at-arms, and that would have been a breakthrough opportunity for Tips. So great read by Faye to correctly optimize her economy here. Cap attempts are going to be denied on both flanks. I love what Faye's doing here, though. She's well aware of what Tips is up to. That guild hall has been ticking, right? We are getting very close to the point where you pull and drop a landmark. But she's trying to guarantee that although Tips might get a red house on the edge of this gold, he doesn't get one parked in the center. That would shut this game down and give him all the gold he needs to keep running it down mid. So really smart read by Faye. Behind this, more prelates are now being added in. We have also got Inspired Warrior Tech, so you can kind of see the impact this has, actually. It's pretty lofty. The extra free damage on these Gilded Crossbowmen. Okay. She actually goes on the offensive here. This is a bit dangerous because Tips could actually get an opportunity to drop a keep. Instead, he gets the opportunity to run. Army reacting, I don't like. Tips, this is very out of position. Like, if Faye saw this and took this fight, it's just a GG wipe of your army. Like, the amount of Gilded Crossbowmen she has, I don't know if Tips really consciously registered that at the beginning, right? Like, he would have seen them attacking the gate, and that should have been a no-no for him. Instead, he hangs around because he doesn't want to give up the food eco. Gilded Crossbowmen have backed away, but the Gilded Knight hangs around. I mean, these are textile villages, but even then, 38 damage a pop means they die fast. I mean, it means they die in 2 hits, right? Yeah. Wait, has he got the melee armor? Okay, no, props to him. He has got the 2 melee armor, so that's the only reason it's not a 2-hit killer. Still, several villagers going down here. Wait. Okay, that's fantastic. Tips, he spawned Jeanne's champions to body block the Gilded Knight in. That was fantastic. Well played, sir. Flash comes in, though. Good across moment. Going for the kill on Jeanne. Divine Restoration will not save you. And the heal factor is just too strong here. Spearman, men-at-arms lasting a long time. Oh, man. Tips. He's going to lose the entire army. He just pulled all of the food out from the guild hall, but this looks like it can't be Imperial Age, right? Mangonel finally arrives, but whoop-de-doo. You just dive on in. We already talked about this. One mango is not the counter to this. You need 3. You need 4 of them. Instead, this crossbow mass is going to clear you up. All arbitrary are dead. Men-at-arms peel. They go off after the Mangonel, and Tips lacking the defenses to keep his counter alive. These gilded crossbowmen are a problem. Oh man, now the farm's getting shut down. Villagers will have to migrate to the south side. The only upside is, of course, these gilded crossbowmen are slow. But right now, Red Pass is on the way, so it looks like Tips takes the trade. He says, okay, no farms, but I'm at least going to be farming gold. Fortunately, considering his position in this game and what he just done, this is not a great Red Pass, right? It needed to be further forward. It needed to deny something, but Faye already had a second wave together in the center while making this attack happen. This is ugly for Tips. He does secure a lot of gold, yes, but Faye has plenty of her own now. At least 16k she can access, plus the 4 relics generating all that gold as the minutes go on, means she has a pretty cozy position in this game. Wouldn't be surprised if Faye just follows up on a delay. For the time being, though, she needs to be looking for strikes. She has a phenomenal military lead here. She has more units in the field than Jeanne D'Arc. And I'm not talking pop value, I'm talking raw number. It's a 3x, which means she has 1.5 more units than the other faction. If you're up against Order of the Dragon and that ever happens, you're in trouble. Where are the farms, right? Like, I mean, second TC, so it looks like Tips is trying to set them up now around that. Dive in here. More farms to be idled up. More villagers to go down, and behind this, pass swiping the way. I love this phase. She's ID'd just how strong she is. Sometimes you have to back up to defend your tech up, but this army is too big not to use. Faye, although she's not at pop cap here, she's military more or less where she wants to be, right? It's the eco that's lagging behind. Jeanne, really? You want to do this again? You want to do this again? Divine Restoration doesn't get used! 2 flurries is all it takes here. Gilded Crossbowmen eat Jeanne's heart out. And an immediate buyback. This is getting expensive. 500 more gold down the drain. Keep drop at least coming in on the south side, so that's going to deny the Sacred Site win condition from Ayyubid, locking in really. Faye up in Imperial now though, and look at the switch. This is sick. Gilded Crossbowmen are kind of pricey, right? You just cracked into Imperial Age. That's a lot of 700 gold cost techs. Instead of maxing out now in a crossbow fight, she makes a very smart choice to go into Gilded Archers. Gilded Archers that get the +3 ranged armor, allowing them to go up to +6 ranged armor. It's a pretty good idea, especially up against these Pavis Arbitrier. It evens the playing field, but it actually puts you ahead. Because these veteran Gilded Archers, soon to be elites, attack a lot quicker. Even with crossbow stirrups, you cannot match the speed. Chasers on here. Funnily enough, now that it is Mecha Jeanne, Faye does not want to turn around. I don't blame her for that. That blast is pretty strong. Type Barnes also now coming in, so Faye just going to juice up her eco even further. And remember, this was past the Swabia, so that eco deficit is now going to recover very quickly. I mean, the impressive part is Faye went from being, I think it's like around 30 eco versus 60 at one stage, to being back here. This is an incredible recovery coming out from Faye. And she's also moving back down towards those farms again. If you even just send in a few men-at-arms, it's going to idle out for a bit. I mean, this is, of course, the Arbalest emplacement, so it's not going to be super effective. So Tips has already kind of insulated himself against that concern. In fact, it looks... Wait, what? How is that still sitting there? Faye somehow gets the 5th relic. Dude, that is sick. The fact she's managed to actually get 5 relics from this position. How? If you looked at this game 20 minutes ago, there's no way if I said Faye was going to get 5 relics, you would have believed me. Absolutely incredible. I mean, you know what Faye's really showing as well is it's the power of not giving up, right? She channeled her best anime form here. This game looked borderline over when she got dove. When she lost that outpost, that looked like the critical point where Tips was just going to take it. But Faye found a way to reset the game. She snuck for those relics while the distraction was all on her base, and that is really what has carried her through. And now in this late game, as the gold gradually dries up, it's what's going to carry her across the finish line that otherwise wouldn't be feasible for Order of the Dragon. Jeanne D'Arc at least going to start spawning cannons, so although the relic is in this keep, although it is more chunky, it's still not invulnerable to the power of the cannons. Faye doesn't have much stone in reserve, right? Looks like she didn't play onto the wide wings to gather that, so doesn't have much to repair the keep. Doesn't have a daisy chain in effect here. In fact, wait, is that in range? No, it's just outside, right? Yeah, so you need to build like 2 buildings to get it close enough. Still, Faye is going to commit the little stone she has here. Army is now marching. The upgrade's now coming in. Watch this damage booster. Look at that increase. They did lose the inspired buff. They've gone up to 19 base. This should put them at an extra, I think it's going to be a +6 or +7 instead of a +2. I'm telling you, folks, Inspired Warriors is the way. If you want to flex on your opponents as Order of the Dragon, it should be a key element of your composition. The army tactics also being queued up. No incendiary arrows yet is a little bit surprising. Most people would tend to prioritize the alternative here, right? But I think the reason why elite army tactics is prio for Faye is because it's not just a damage increase, it's a health increase. She wants her front line to survive this clash. Love the fact she's just gone unlimited spinman as well. Funnily enough, Gambison kind of doesn't really perform as well as you'd like up against the Order of the Dragon. These spearmen have higher base damage compared to regular spears. So you can see with the Inspired Warrior tech, they're hitting for 23 damage. And yes, you are reducing that damage by 9, but you're still a 95 health unit being stabbed by a 260 health unit. Doesn't really feel fair. Now Mango coming out. Oh, that's sick. But it actually attacks onto the Red Palace. Mistakes made there. He's going to get splintered. Flash coming in though. Spearman trying to wrap around the back. Mango out of position there. And the charge on in. Arbalest count going down. Fei Chan willing to trade away at all. Even chases away Jeanne D'Arc. I mean, it's going to cost her quite a lot here, right? But I think she wanted to switch over anyway. This is just a throwaway, folks. It looks like a bad fight, but look at what Fei has queued up behind this. She's going for the hand cannoneers. Now, imagine she might be going for, like, trebs to take this down. This is kind of problematic now, remember. You've got cannons, yes, but 10 tile range versus 10 tile range means usually the only answer to a red pass like this is either a lot of disposable torches or trebs. Still. Considering you now keep Tips' head down in the dirt, it's not the worst idea what she's done here, right? Like, she definitely lost a lot more military pop, a lot more value in that fight. But I think really the goal here isn't to trade evenly for Faye. She just wants to shift to a new unit type, and I think it is just going to be mass hand cannoneers and mass spears. I do wonder if she could have went past the red pass, though. Honestly, like, forcing the fight at the beginning was fine, but this tree line could have been used to move into the economy, which would have forced Tips to react defending. So you could have been moving towards these farm areas, or at least away from the keep's influence, right? Because that cannon plus Arbalest placement did do a lot of work in that engagement. So Tips gets a good fight here. Incendiary arrows is now coming through, but it's not going to be about the crossbows as much as it's going to be about these archers. It's kind of funny that she's actually adding in quite a lot more crossbows, but I imagine that's to do with gold limitations, right? These hand cannoneers are insanely expensive at 240 gold each. Bombard. Oh, the timing by Faye. Tips tries to sneak another keep in. It will go up, but it's not going to be healthy for it. And remember, these extension keeps don't have the range of the red pass, right? That Arbalest placement there has 10 tower range. This one only has 9.5, which means this cannon can very casually take out the castle. Has she got the spear tech? No, she hasn't gone for heavy torches. A little bit surprised by that she didn't choose the splash damage, but I guess with keeps being so fat, it doesn't have as much value. Castle almost dead. Troops getting ready to dive in here. No repairs coming through. Tips. He's going to lose the castle. Red Palace still stands, though, and this is kind of the sticking point we talked about, right? Is you don't actually have a great answer. Love the culverin detail by Faye, though. These cannons right now are unanswered, but of course the 12-tower range culverins can make quick work of them. Has lost the keep in the meantime, however, which is not ideal. So he definitely had the stone to keep it alive, just chose not to commit. Now push in. Bombards, they might be free, but they take a while to come out, Tips, so maybe treat with a little bit more delicacy here. Hand cannoneers now moving through. Jeanne charging forward. Faye has to start a step away. This is just so difficult. That fully garrisoned Red Palace, shotgunning down anything in range. I mean, I think at some point you just have to go for the Treb choice, right? It's annoying. It uses a lot of population, but the alternative is you just keep throwing bodies at this and getting massacred for it. Relics have at least been shifted over, so we're back up to 5 relics. I mean, what's Tips really got going for him? This is not a map you can trade on, remember, so you're kind of limited in terms of your runway. Guildhall can only do so much. He just pulled out the gold, and although he's got a lot of gold in the center, he's exhausting it fast. That keep was critical to keeping him in this game. He basically has 1 gold vein, and then he's exposed. So well played by Faye. Just more gold efficient here, right? Like, she still has 4K left over here, the 8K here. She's securing now on the 8K down here. And on top of that, she is generating 800 gold a minute passively. I don't like that Tips only has arbitrary, actually. I mean, he's going into men-at-arms, but I actually think the players should be Raw Bloodlines Horseman mass here. You've got a decent amount of food. I would prefer you have like 3K food a minute to allow it to keep on pumping. But it's probably the most efficient thing you can do right now with Arbors to back it. Instead, though, you're just stuck with mass ranged it, and Gilded Hand Cannon is going to look to spank you for that. Spank you very much indeed. 52 damage when they are buffed up by the Prelates. Trebs have finally arrived for Faye. So this is what we were waiting for. This is kind of the break point now, where Tips is on the clock. If this Treb count goes up to 5 or 6, there is a weakness to Faye's comp in that she will have less military to defend with. But at the same time, at that stage, sustaining this keep becomes incredibly expensive. Any more Tips actually peels military away. Trying to go for a flank attack. There is a wood wall up here, so it's not going to be a quick breakthrough. In fact, if we get seen right away, there might be a rush to repair it. Gonna be easy. Horsemen are seen. Faye knows a quick wall attempt. Can she get it? No! It's going to be kept open. Tips makes it through. However, this Horseman raid will not be enough to kill off, right? There's Spruan emplacements in this area, although not cannons, can actually whittle away at you. And I imagine there's going to be a small group of spears on the way to clear that up. So Tips, he'll force some idle time, but Faye has got 5k surplus food in reserve. So this doesn't flatline her eco. If anything, you need to hit the wood line, which is here. Oh, goody. He's hitting that too. They're so insanely tanky. 243 HP. Spears will be able to clear them up quickly, though. In the meantime, Red Palace starting to take some serious damage. Forces Tips to come out. He thinks that he's actually made his opponent weak enough for this fight, but I'm not convinced right now. Hand Cannoneer is able to start a step back. Cannon placement in the outpost, also doing a lot of damage. Arbitrary with the pieces standing their ground, but the Hand Cannoneer is able to make quick work of that. The buff up, just doing so much work, and Jeanne D'Arc is gonna go down. Tips not able to break it, now down to 23 Arbitrary, and the Red Palace is crumbling. I mean, this is just not enough. He's still got Raiders in on the wood line. Faye now down to 78 eco. She took a heavy hit from that attack. But in some ways, that's kind of freeing at this stage, right? If the keep was still up, I'd be concerned. But Faye now has an opportunity, folks. She can reboom harder into military. She can go up to 120, 130 military. And there's no Red Palace to worry about. Trebs can also just keep this pressure down, right? This is the thing. Once the Red Palace is destroyed, you never let it go back up. I don't think she will. Military mass making their way back towards the front line. Looks like the Horseman raid is coming in again. Faye, once again, not in position here. We'll have to send across a group of spearmen. Actually, let's have them quite close by. Flash in the center, meanwhile. These are just bad fights for Tips to be taken. Even with the Pavis, like honestly, with the Pavis now, you just back up a little bit if you're Faye. Wait for him to walk away, and then Pavis is on cooldown for a minute. Funnily enough, Faye says, I don't care about 5 ranged armor. Have you seen my 46 damage? Yes, and it's scaring me. Horseman running in by one is just terrible here as well. I don't like that Tips is kind of just getting aggroed into a meat grinder. He doesn't have the income, the surplus in reserve to do this right now. Not in an inefficient trade, and that's exactly what this is. Raid through the cav will be blocked out this time by the spears much quicker. So barely a lick on Faye's eco count as she stays at 80. I think this is close to done. Tips is out of gold now. This is why Faye's pushing so hard so early. She knows Tips has nothing left. He has a Guildhall pull, and that's literally it. And that's only 1,500 gold at this stage in the game. Doesn't go far. Horseman also going to unfortunately be scouted incredibly early this time by a small group of troops. That's going to be the early alarm bell that Faye needs to react before this raid even hits. There they are. Let's scout it out. Tips has been revealed. Is Faye going to react quick enough? She's actually moving up north for the spears now. A reroll needs to be in, and it needs to be fast here. Are you kidding me? Tips actually checks the back corner. Oh, man. He at least hits from the south side, but that's going to be less impactful. Spears immediately shut that down. I don't believe anymore. I mean, you're losing fights everywhere. Keep dropping the center so you never get that red pass back online. Wood wall's going to be burnt through, but Spearman already on standby in the area, right? Treb's also addressing the keep to open up that sacred site to take away the win condition. We're 7 minutes away, but Tips, I don't think he's going to see 6 minutes. Horseman raid at least comes in again, but this time they're going to be meeting 18 spearmen. Checks the wood line. It's the most important thing for Faye right now. So losing these woodworkers is a little bit annoying, but considering the spearmen aren't trading poorly right now, it's not going to slow down her production that much. And I'm still worried about this gold, folks. He has 200 gold a minute. He's stockpiling as much as he can in the Guildhall, but if this Arbitrary mass gets wiped once, it's over. Spears? Faye? Hello? Hello? Alright, she's distracted. Fight is underway. Trebs are going to be hit by the Horsemen, but the Gunners are the real problem here. Gunners and Arbitrary facing off. Faye has got a second wave boom behind this, and I mean, it's just a gold trade now, isn't it, really? So far, the only reason why Tips has looked like he's still in this is because it's food and wood that he's trading, but the moment it starts to expose your Arbitrary is the moment you start to trip over yourself. Good initial fight. But Valorous Inspiration was used for that one, folks. That's why it looks so good. That's why I'm so skeptical, because whenever there's no Valorous Inspiration, these fights are incredibly one-sided. Looks like it's going to be a push out on the north side, an attempt to build a keep up, but denied! Just a handful of troops is all it takes. Tips is at least going to cancel the keep and back away. But he's lost the win condition. No Sacred Site timer anymore. Hand Cannoneer count now at 20 for the Order of the Dragon. That is equivalent to a Hand Cannoneer army of 40 for any regular army. I mean, you can't fight back against that. That's the problem, right? Each of them so just independently tanky. This is the whole thing. If you can kind of reach a population-dense army with the Order of the Dragon, and you're trading like this, the effective health pool of each of your units makes it very difficult for your opponent to kind of whittle away at your army, right? It's much easier to kind of gain momentum like this, especially when Tips refuses to take a full-on engagement. Horseman going again, but I just don't think Faye has to care as much anymore. Hand Cannoneer count getting scarily large. No micro coming out. Faye's probably going to realize that. That's the one mistake she's making here, is quite often the Hand Cannoneers are standing still when they shouldn't be. The moment they back up, the minute arms count going down, 2k gold in reserve, but that was the Guildhall pull. Jeanne's going to ride in. Arbitrary staff on the north side, Divine Restoration used already. Raid through this time is shut down before it begins. Oh boy. It turns out Faye will not allow history to repeat itself for the 4th time on that raid. And with no raid potential anymore, all I'm seeing is a situation where Faye, once again, is never going to run out of gold. Castle barely taking any damage. She still has, what, 18,000 gold to work with in this area? It might not be the most efficient way to trade, but it really just doesn't matter to her anymore. Spearman marching out for that sacred site again. Keeps R at least up. But you can torch this down, actually. Looks like he's going to go for the garrison. Makes a lot of sense. But honestly, torches out, boys. And on you go. Army is also moving north side. Bombard coming. I think FaZe realized, okay, I've been having fun in the center, but the Sacred Site wing condition is still a very big problem. Decap does commence, though. Villagers on the way to try and repair, but with some gunners here, they're going to die so quickly. Oh, no. Not like this. It's going to get decapped. He can't move away quick enough, right? Because the chase is on. Jeanne is down. Arbalest, they get caught in the rotation here. And the hand cannoneer count is going to be too high. Decap is at least going to be disrupted, but the castle now on fire. 4 minutes away from a Sacred Site victory. Tips. Can he hold this? Arbitrary count went down quite a bit, but he still has 40 in the field. Faye, I mean, I'm starting to wonder, really, is Spearman the choice versus the option of Horseman instead? Because I feel like she's making this a bit harder on herself. And it is actually giving away for Tips to potentially win this in a game where I don't think that Sacred Site should have been able to be held this long. Oh, man. Did I misread this? Did I give too much credit to Faye? I mean, it looked like a cut and dry push in, but Tips, with these wide arcing wraps, and I think also Faye investing way too many spears to defending the flanks, she struggled now to close this out. Now she might be in a bit of a pickle. Because you have all these hand cannoneers. Yes, they're strong, but I mean, what do you do about these sacred sites, right? The castle, although on fire, is still standing up there. Faye coming in strong, though. Mass hand cannoneers. Could this be the game breaker? If she gets rid of the Arbalest, she'll have a way in. Unfortunately, it's coming at a price. Horseman raid onto the eco line. Faye losing a lot of gold workers here. Rams also getting rid of those cannon outposts. A retreat away into the arms, the waiting arms of the Horsemen. But these hand cannoneers. I mean, the one thing that does worry me is Faye isn't efficient with her population, right? She doesn't have prelates anymore, buffing this up. But even then, if she could just clear this Arbor mass once, it's only going to be Horsemen. Maybe that's too tall of an order, though. We're now 3 minutes away, under 3 minutes, in fact, 2.5 from a win for Tips. Faye needs to make a move soon. Rams are moving over. Now going to start to be intercepted. I don't think Faye can do this. I legit think she's just kind of misplayed this. I mean, the Spearman instead of Horseman was kind of questionable for this long in the game. The lack of prelate buff consistently and the fact that she split her attention between the center and the north cost her dearly on that keep. And now, 2 minutes away, Faye, it's desperation time. The entire army needs to move north, and that means Tips could try to make a move for the center gold. Dude, what a wild game this is turning into. I can't believe that Faye isn't able to close this. Like, I can't believe that with this army, this advantage, 5 relics, everything looking thumbs up for her. A premium army of hand cannoneers, and yet she hasn't got the way. She's going to try to force it now, though. Bombards move in. Spearmen meet with the Horsemen. A quick clear up the front line. Arbalest, they are going to drop the pieces. Jeanne just needs to be sniping out that Bombard right now, but she cannot approach the hand cannoneers. This is going to be tight. This is going to be close. Hand cannoneers push away Jeanne. They get her low. Not quite able to finish her off. Valorous Inspiration is going to be activated. The machine gun attack speed coming in. Arbalest able to push it back again. We are a minute away, and it looks undeniable. Tips. But the tip of this poll will make it happen. The Valorous Inspiration to save the day. And now Faye, desperation mode activated. All villagers out to the sacred site. The only way she can pause this right now. Villagers pull to repair from Tips. Cleaves coming out. Jeanne D'Arc running them down. And the army can't break through. This is it. This is done. Keep getting low. Villagers being sacrificed. Faye, she can't hold on to it any longer. The castle is low, yes. But the price has been high. 30 seconds away. Tips. Can he do it? Yes, he can. Horseman in again. Nothing to defend. Faye, from what looked like an unbeatable position here, will be beaten by the flanks. What a crazy game. I can't believe this. Faye looked like she had victory in the palms of her hands. But Tips, with those wide arcs, that focus on the sacred site, and the clutch keep save, gets the win.